how to think like a rich person and use taxes and corporation to your advantage.
Hey Tom, it's the one and only Floyd Money Mayweather. First I want to say congratulations on your YouTube channel. Everybody needs to follow your YouTube channel. So what everyone needs to do is subscribe to Tom Payne. Great guy, great person. Tom, keep up the great work.
So one of my fans sent me a message saying that, I really appreciate that you talk about this book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, written by Robert Kiyosaki. And I think this is a great book because almost everything it says in this book are true. If you follow it, you can build a lot of wealth. The key is you have to follow it. You have to follow what he says. And you have to do it. You have to take fucking action. If you don't do it, nothing happens. All right? I say almost everything because, there are certain things I don't agree with. For example, Robert is really keen on real estate. He believes in real estate as a way to hedge against the devaluation of money, right? But I don't think that's the right mechanism to invest for most of you because you're fucking poor. And real estate is really for rich people. It's a mechanism, it's a tool for the rich people to hold on to their wealth. Not so much for you, right? You need something else. But I'm gonna talk about lesson number 4 or chapter number 4, the history of taxes and the power of the corporations, all right? That's what, this says. And because one of my fans, really appreciated me talking about this book, and he wanted me to go more in depth, explain in Tom's way, the easy to understand way. What is Robert really saying in chapter 4? I understand this can be a little bit complicated for, some people to understand, but let me explain it in a way that you would understand, all right? There are companies, right? There's a difference between individual and a corporation. An individual is like you and me. A corporation is an entity. It could be formed by 1 person, 2 person, 3 person, 4 person, 100 person, 1,000 person, right? You have individual and corporation. But where did we get the idea of corporations? You have to go back to, in the times of doing business on the high seas, because the only way to transport goods, a lot of goods from place A to place B is by ships. They build boats, they put a lot of goods on it, and they sail from, let's say, place A to place B, and they buy and they sell. They buy low, sell high. That's how business people made money back then. But, when you build ships and put a lot of goods on it, there's a lot of risk, right? Because bad things can happen. You could run into pirates, right? You could, run into a storm and your boat goes down into the water, sunk, and you lose all your goods and your crew and your boat, right? So that's when they came up with the idea of corporations. And corporations were really there to mitigate risk. Let's say I hire a boat and I put a lot of goods on the boat, and I send the boat out to a destination and I'm going to sell it there. But if I somehow lose the boat, right, because the boat is registered under the corporation, personally, I have no liability. So the boat is owned by the corporation. And if we lose the boat in the water, then I'm still not personally responsible. It's the corporation that owns the boat. So they create a separate entity so that, just because my boat went down in the water, I'm not legally liable for the loss. So I don't have to be responsible for the loss that was incurred by the loss of the boat. And that really is a way to protect people, because oftentimes we have no control over those things, right? So when you run into a storm, or your boat was hijacked by pirates, we have really no control over those things. So the government came up with this entity to protect business people from being responsible, being financially responsible when these bad things happen. these unfortunate things when they happen. And that's why we have corporations and we have individuals. And why should you do business as a corporation and not an individual? Which is really what this book is talking about, right? You should really do business as a corporation. So if you're doing business and you're still doing it under your personal individual name, then that's bad because you don't have the protection of the law, right? So if you lose money, if you have made a bad deal and you're personally liable, you could lose your house, you could lose everything, you could lose all your money, and you probably can never pay it back, right? And you have to declare bankruptcy. Whereas if you run your business under a corporation, you're protected. You can only lose the money you put into that corporation. You cannot lose more, right? You still get to keep your house, right? They cannot go after your house. For example, I don't really understand the laws here in Vietnam, but that's generally the case in North America. Like individuals and corporations are separate. If you lose money in the corporation, they cannot come after you as an individual. So that's why there's a separation. That gives you a lot of protection. So as a business person, you should always think about starting a corporation. And also, people who own corporations have a lot of money and they have a lot of power back in the days when they're, shipping goods from place A to place B, right? So they know how to, lobby the government. They know how to lobby the state to make sure that they are protected, make sure that they have influence, right? So I would say in most of the world, even in a communist state, the laws are generally, skewed towards the business. A lot of people may not say that, or a lot of people may not feel that way, but actually, the laws of most countries side with the business. And there's a good reasons for it, because businesses create opportunities. Businesses create job opportunities. They create GDP, they create wealth, and they create abundance. They create good society, a prosperous society. It's businesses that do that, right? So generally, the laws in most countries, they're slightly in favor of businesses, even though, we don't like to talk about it sometimes. But one biggest advantage of corporations is that you can declare expenses, right? So if I make money, I make $100, but I have to pay $50 to make that $100, I can declare that $50 as my expense, and my profit is $50. So I can declare expenses to offset my revenue. So I can declare my real profitability to reduce my taxes. And generally, corporate taxation is preferential to personal income tax in almost any country, because every country wants people to do business because it's good for the country, right? So there's just so many things that are good when you start a corporation. You get lower taxes, and you can declare expenses so that you only pay taxes on your profit, right? And if you don't make profit, you don't pay tax. And also you have protection. You have protection when things go really bad. They cannot come after your house. They cannot go take your car, for example, right? Because corporation and individuals are separate entities. So that is the basics of chapter 4. And basically Robert says that if you want to start a business, look into corporations, and that's how you should do it. And that's really the basics of, entrepreneurships and starting a business. Look into the laws, and I will talk more about this. There are many different corporation types here in Vietnam. I have researched this a little bit, and I will cover that in a different video. If you want to see that video, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell so that when that video comes out, you will see it. Look into the different corporation types and pick the right one for you and start your business as a corporation. It does take a little bit of money to set up that corporation, but it's really not that much. It's a little bit of money, and it offers you so much protection, it will save your ass later. All right, take fucking action and don't be a fucktard.